Former Anniston Mayor Dethrage posts photos of the exterior of Anniston High School on Facebook in not such a positive light. On Facebook, it sparked a tremendous amount of comments, shares, and opinions. The former mayor spoke at a recent school board meeting to voice his concerns.
I was just taking a stroll with my dog, and I walked around my alma mater, and I saw things that I thought, gosh, it could be better than this. And really all I want to do tonight, just very quickly, is to challenge this community to do better than this. That's all. We can, as a group, we can all do better than this. And we have to work together if we're going to accomplish that. Sure, a bond issue and some funding to do facilities improvement is something that would be greatly beneficial, something that ought to be discussed. Apparently there's been no capital improvement funding for the schools since I was the mayor, 1996. I often tell people, look at our elementary schools. The last elementary school that we built is no longer an elementary school. The places where we send our young people to school today are more than 50 to 60 years old. Our high school is aged and the middle school is underutilized. We've got an abundance of facilities and we lack community support to have the students to fill the facilities. So what I challenge the community to do is to get behind the school system and to ensure that the students that are going to our public schools receive the very best opportunity to excel possible to them, and that every aspect of our facilities reflects our desire to have exceptional kids. That exceptional kids see exceptional things when they come on the grounds of the Anniston City Schools. And that won't happen unless we all work together. All of us working together can do incredibly wonderful things. So I'm going to just shut up. I told Mr. Dott that I would love to see a beautification committee appointed that would go around and look at each of the grounds on all of our facilities, take snapshots so that we know where we are now, and then let's see how we can make improvements. That's a small step, and I think that each group of parents and teachers and community members and those near those facilities would support it. I think the corporate entities and companies in our community will support it. I think our city government will support it. I think everybody would be shocked and amazed to see us stand up and working together outside the city of Anniston. And so that's my challenge, is that all of us within the city of Anniston stand up and work together to improve our city schools.
Some school board members weighed in on the matter.
For sure that I don't want anyone to walk out and think that no one supports us now. Lowe's came over to Anniston Middle and put in, I don't know, 2.5 weeks worth of work. Because Ms. Garrick asked them, they're our supporters. Eastman has put in tons of work at Randolph Park. The alumni have put in tons of work. Council people have put in tons of work. Pressure washing at Cobb, pressure washing at Randolph Park. Those things happen every year. So I don't want anyone to walk away and say no one's doing any work for the schools. That is not true. Anyone who would walk around this campus, for instance, will notice that someone maintains the grounds and someone does put in some work here. Same for any of our schools. Anniston High School is a massive campus, and that makes it very difficult to maintain in the way that we would like to see it maintained. So it takes a lot of effort and a lot of people. What I'd like to see, yes, I'd like to see a beautification committee, but I'd like to see a group of people who are supported by a Lowe's or a Home Depot bring forth an opportunity to tackle Anniston. I've been over there on the campus myself, putting in sweat equity. That's a tough campus. There's a lot of work to maintain that campus. So we appreciate all the opportunities, Mayor Dethrage, that you've offered us. And we look forward to an opportunity to work with others as well to clean up some of the sore spots. Anyone else have comments on that topic? Because I know it was a hot topic for a moment.
Well, my basic comment is I don't disagree with what he says. It's never what you say, it's how you say it. And then you lose your credibility when you post it in the manner that you did. And I'm sure it was just like you said, it was just an attempt to bring attention. But, you know, for the people that really live in that area, all they see is, well, you know, hey, he walks his dog out on the campus and one day he decides to walk around the campus. You know, so I think it's a good idea. And I hear you saying community. Our community is all of Anniston. Our community is all of Anniston because it's the only high school in the city of Anniston. And it has always been so painful to me. And you know it. Even when I didn't have children, you and I did this stuff. It has always been so painful to me that we punish the kids in a system because of where they live, their zip code, and the color of their skin. But I welcome anything, and I can say this to the former mayor, because he and I go back to what, the 1990s, having this same conversation, were we not?
Absolutely.
He and I had this, and we had public forums just like this, and it's almost a heartbreak that 20-some years ago, we're still asking folk to do right. That's all, to do what's right. And we don't have a do right culture. And I'm gonna stop.
I really like something the ex or former mayor just said. He said, let's work together. I think I heard him say that.
Yeah.
And we need to work together. So I'm looking forward to that. Matter of fact, I wish our former mayor was our current mayor, because we need to work together. And I look forward to doing that. And in terms of beautifying and all of that, we need to do that. But I also want to stress, we got to work with the academics in the district. That must be our #1 thing. We want to make it beautiful and put in the flowers and anything else you want to put in and make it look beautiful. But we got to do some work inside. We got to get these reading levels at grade level. And we got to make sure our kids are getting exactly what they need in these classrooms. So therefore, we want to do all of this beautiful stuff, but we want to also make sure that these children are ready to go out into the world and to be able to compete. And we don't want to use this thing about poverty. Every time I hear that word, it just sort of does something to me. Because I was raised in Anniston, Alabama, 50 years ago, in poverty. But I didn't know I was in poverty. Right until I took an economics class in college. And then once I took an economics 100, I found out that I was in poverty. I had no idea that I was poor. Didn't have a clue.
That's the issue. Who's accountable? Who's going to stand up and say, I messed up? Well, first of all, I'll be the first to say, we messed up for 2 years almost. You know why? Because we know we didn't have a vision. We know we didn't have a mission. We know we didn't have a strategy. We knew we were lacking accountability to some things. We knew that. But we too messed up worrying about stepping on somebody's toes. Guess what? This year, next 2 years, I don't care whose toes I step on. Okay? There are some things that's lined up that we need to get done on the school board. We need to have something on day one that wasn't there before. And we're going to have some things lined up. We have to do that. We have no choices. If we don't, we fail the kids. We will fail. We have been talking about certain things for the last 2 years. 2 years. Now it's time to stop talking and start doing.
And some stress a good upkept atmosphere is conducive for learning.
I think that was a good gesture for him to step up after putting that information on Facebook. Good gesture, but the key though is putting committees together, working on the outside of school. It's only one facet of what really needs to happen. I would rather for him to put that same effort to get people to come inside our schools, our students. But a good gesture.
A recent report notes that Anniston High is on the academic failing list. Mr. Houston believes he knows why.
Think about this. We have issues with our students in the lower grades, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc., not being able to read at grade level. So when they get to the high school, it's not going to miraculously change where they can read. So we got to get that reading done right, and we got to get the math back on track. So our focus, heard me talking earlier about starting this year off, next year off right. That's what the advanced ed, working on the technology sides of it, working on the math side of the science parts of it, all these things, the academics, we got to work on all that. If we don't get that right, nothing else matters. So we're going to start off 2018-19 school year different than in the past. In fact, I'll just read a couple of things. We're going to have our objectives all laid out. We're going to have our mission, our vision, and our goals laid out for the district. We're going to work on our code of conduct. We're going to have our policy procedures in place. We're going to have a solvency plan in place. We're going to get our Head Start agreement worked out. And we're going to work out, make sure our budget is correct this time around. So we got things that we want to have beginning of the year in place.
If test scores don't improve, some fear state takeover is imminent.
Birmingham was taken over by the state, and they now have come out of that a couple of years ago. So don't be alarmed if that might be an item. I don't want you to be afraid of that. That might not be something you want, but it may be something you need. And those are conversations that are brewing, just for your information, across the state. And it happens. They've taken over Fairfield City School System. I just got off the phone with my state school board representative for the state in our area, and she was the superintendent of schools at the time, and they brought it back. She was there. Now she's on the state school board. So I don't want you to be alarmed by that conversation if it's going to be had. I don't want you to get upset. I want you to understand it and what it means and dissect it before you get riled up about it, because something has got to happen. Now what that's going to be, it's going to be up to this body, hopefully, and the school in the state of Alabama.
We spoke with Senator Dale Marsh a few months back. He's in favor of phasing in public charter schools.
Again, I'm for public charter schools, which we passed, which are in operation right now, could be in operation in Anniston. If the school board, the local school board, chooses to have a public charter school, they can do so. It's their choice, it's their flexibility. But they've got to do something to fix the problems in the system, because as long as those grades are failing, people are going to have second thoughts about entering that system.
And so how are those talks going with the Anniston School Board members with you guys?
I'm sorry?
How are those talks going, those discussions about the
Listen, I've had some good discussions, but I've been very candid with the board members. Listen, I'm the legislature. I'll do anything I can to help you. You tell me what kind of legislation we need to pass, but at the end of the day, the board has to make those decisions on which direction that school board is going to go.
Any word on how soon that may come, or when?
I hope soon. I'm hopeful that they're going to make some decisions of change that'll add some more hope in that system, because that system right now is suffering.
And when is when the next meeting is coming up with you guys?
Well, I'm available anytime they were called. The last few times they've called, I've made myself available. Even brought people in from Montgomery to meet with them.
I went to the venue where the mayor, he invited me. And again, I'll go anywhere with an elected official and talk about anything they want to talk about, because one thing my mother trained me to do is you don't have to say it if you don't have to support something you don't believe in. Tell the people where you stand and step away from it. So I had the chance at a breakfast meeting with Dale Marsh and the mayor to talk about charter schools. And here's what I pitched, Ms. Morgan. I said, I'll talk to you at length about charters, but here's what I'd like to see. A county, if you just got to have a charter in Calhoun County, make it a county-wide charter, because I don't know that Anniston City Schools can sustain a charter school.
It appears to me, Mr. Dethrage, I know you won't hesitate to clarify something that I may have missed, but on Saturday I understood you to say that you had possibly about 5 or 6 schools about charters. I don't know, you didn't say a time frame to my knowledge. Over how many years you been here for?
The origination of the charter legislation up to now, yes, I've had about 5 or 6 meetings.
At the same time, we passed a public charter school bill, which allows public schools to have a public charter that has flexibility away from the rigid rules and the tenure system.
I thought I understood you, because many of my constituents were saying, you know, they'd never heard of this. And of course, you know, by us coming out, heard of you meeting with, was it the same group of people that you met with on the 15th? Or was this a different set of people?
It was a different group of people at the table on the 15th. Some of them were the same. My initial meeting, I think I mentioned it Saturday, was with Dale Marsh and former Mayor Vaughn Stewart.
Was that the one
that
that
the first real meeting I had?
Okay, was that the one that the AEA representative?
No, I was not. I was not present.
You weren't in that.
No, someone that said that I was present, but I missed that good meal.
Okay.
I was not present at that meeting.
Okay. But it's just a matter of transparency, which is what I've been preaching ever since I've been here since November 17th.
Local business owner Tommy Johnson says charter schools would be the wrong move for the Anniston school system.
Public school. Charter, it really is just a cop-out. Charter schools pay the kids to learn. My thing is that if you're going to pay the charter school, have charter educators in the school. Give them the same opportunities as they get at charter school. Charter schools can almost make their own rules, where public schools have to run strict rules from the State Department. And that puts them at an unlevel playing field right there.
So, if they put the charter school instructors or teachers in, what happens to our current teachers and superintendent? What happens then?
They out of job. They take the money away from the public school and give it to the charter school. So that means the resources become less and less for the public school. And everybody's not going to transfer to a charter school. So that means that those kids are getting less and less of the resources and less of the pie. And the teachers have less to work with because of the resources have been taken away from them.
So you said they've had meetings over the past few years. How do you know that? And what makes you think?
Well, I heard from anonymous sources, and I've seen it in the paper. I saw it in Birmingham News where they met in Birmingham. I saw that in my own chest.
What do you say? Are you familiar with Dale Marsh?
Yes, I know him very well. I know when he first got elected.
Well, when he first got elected, he was all about public schools. Now he's public charter schools.
Yeah, well, see, that's because they want the business folks to make the rules for the schools. Education ought to be run by educators. Now, you could have external advisors and people to help advise it, but the decision ought to be left to the people that know more about schools.
In other matters, Anniston City Schools CFO Jimmy Thompson says compared to last year, the school system's financial woes are improving, but adds we're still not in the clear.
But I'm wondering if you can tell me how we're looking slightly better. And I'm looking at March and I'm on the general fund balance. Can you kind of explain that for me, please?
As far as the general fund?
Yes, for March.
If you look at the comparison from the previous year, it improves. And as far as you're looking at eating away at the deficit, because you got to remember, we're looking at the deficit as a whole year, and this is only a snapshot for a month. And as you look at the whole year, you will see that it ebbs and flows from the previous year. So when you look at the system as a whole, as far as the deficit, that the deficit is improving. So I mean, this snapshot is just for 1 month. But when you look at the entire year, you see the progression because we're at a deficit. So our job is to eat away at the deficit each month.
And if I may, Ms. Munford, I'm looking at April, the general fund balance analysis for the month of April, which is on into our packet quite a ways. And I'm looking at what the deficit was last year in April, and I'm looking at what it is this year, and as of April, as of April's bank statements and all that. So my statement is relative The public does need to know that we are still in deficit spending, but that we are decreasing as of April, the deficit spending.
Another ongoing debate we first told you about is the city hiring Sheila Smoot to help boost economic development around Anniston. Once again, it was tabled. Listen to how it unfolds.
Okay, our last matter is something that was taken from the table, and that has to do with a resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with Network Media Consultants, Inc. Would you briefly present that, Mr. Johnson? It pretty much speaks for itself.
This is a resolution that we would retain this firm and the individual Sheila Smoot to assist the city of Anniston, and particularly West and South Anniston, in economic development and redevelopment projects. It's a proposed 3-year agreement with annual renewals.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there a motion for passage and adoption?
So moved.
Second. Council discussion.
It is, as I stated before, we pass so many things, pass so much money going into certain areas. It is important that we don't have a black consultant, and people say, oh, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Soon somebody says something about black, it's a problem when it's a black individual, but it's a problem. But the truth is the truth. Facts are the facts. And Ms. Smoot is well qualified, well able, and well deserving of the funding, the money that it would require, that she's asking for. And I asked the council if it is an annual approval, and if it's not working out, then it's not approved. But at least give someone an opportunity to show what they can do. We have approval, we have a retail strategist. Again, as I said before, I have had one conversation with them. Only conversation I had for them to come down here was when I had to call and talk with them, ask them to come down and look at Ward, West End, and South Anniston. That was it. Ms. Smoot has been on the ground running, even before we even talked about hiring her and doing great things. And I kind of assured this council not kind of robbery to give her the opportunity, afford her the opportunity to show what she can do, not just for West End and South End, but in her doings. If something comes up that will enhance the city, I'm quite sure she'll do just that to make sure the city's involved. You just saw tonight where I had different difficulties with and issues with several things, but for the good of the community, I voted for it. And that is constantly happening a lot of times and taking place. And all we're asking is to hire her, because this is the deal. Some people don't want to say this, but whites don't have the connection with blacks in other high places because they don't know where to go to and how to do it. And she has those connections with whites and blacks, Democrats and Republicans across the line. And so we're asking that we pass this and it be evaluated, after the year, and we take action for that. You just saw tonight how we passed that $1.6 million thing. And we're just up in the air about figure this and figure that. And if you can figure that out, anybody can figure it out. But we went ahead with that. And this is something that are concrete, that is measurable, that we can measure in her doing. And I just really believe that we may, and she just happened to be black, and she just happened to be a lady. And I don't know, we have whites. There's in several different areas that are doing a lot of things, different things, white men and women. We don't have that. Now, they mentioned that the last contract we did was one with Clay, PBS. That was a small thing. You see, that's why we throw some crumbs at us. But when we come down to just a few dollars, we don't want that to happen. And whatever concerns one to have, I heard say she endorsed Councilman Reddy kind of raise. When we have all these other political entities that are endorsing people, if one don't understand that and can't get over that, and I'm going to hold that against someone that's want to do business with it, then we have a problem. I stated before, the superintendent endorsed my opponent. I don't hold that against the superintendent or against the school. I still voted for money with it. So and then we say, well, that's different than a consultant who represents the city manager. That was not Alabama Power, different entities, and we have people that the city does business with. business with, that represented and promoted certain candidates during the past election. And we're still doing business with it. That's economic development. It's economic development for their pockets. And I don't hold that against a business. They have an opportunity to do it. They got them on the council, have a big sign right up on that building right there, promoting one candidate. Now, I don't have to hold that. That's their right to do that. So holding that against her, to me, it's an excuse just not to do something. And I'm just asking them, let us hire her and evaluate her within that year. You all saw all the money flew around in here. Let us do that. And I guarantee you see some results in West Anniston, South Anniston that will absolutely shock you on the movement that had happened.
From my perspective, I think we can all agree that West and South Anniston, Wards 2 and 3 have specific economic development needs, and there are probably specific businesses that ought to be targeted to Wards 2 and 3 specifically. And I do think that it would be beneficial for the city to identify a minority-owned economic development firm to do that. I think we're all in agreement with that. I just don't believe, from my perspective, that this is the right contract to ask the city manager to enter into. And again, this, because of our form of government, this is a contract that would have to be entered into by the city manager, and that's actually the nature of the resolution. I think we all agree, again, that it is needed. Just from my perspective, this is not the right contract.
So you think you think it's a great idea, you know, it would be beneficial. You just don't think that we have the ability to pick the person that would be the best person for our constituency.
We do have the ability. This is just my vote and my vote only.
But you're saying it's not the right person, as though you have some inside knowledge about it that we don't. Am I incapable of finding somebody significant enough to represent the constituency of my group? Is that
no, you have the ability to vote on that. That's what we're doing right now.
Like the intellectual intelligence to find somebody that can benefit my district. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think I'm saying that at all, Mr. Reddick. I don't think anyone thinks I'm saying that.
That's how I came across when you're saying we need a minority contractor, we need a developer for this side of the town, but you know, it's not the right person.
From my perspective,
because I don't think but I think it's the perfect person. So you say you're smarter than me? Is that what it is?
I'm not saying that at all, Mr. Reddick. I mean, we each have our vote here, and that's what we're going to be doing.
It's weird that you threw your opinion on that.
My issue has to do with the content of the contract. The dollar value exceeds the dollar value of the company that we retain to pay, that we retain to represent the entire city. And we're asking this company to represent half the city in this. I don't feel like, while there is some loose language in there about coordination between other consultants and things like that, I don't feel like there's the appropriate chain of command. In economic development, it is critical that you're speaking with one voice to any potential retailer, industrial person, anybody of that nature. Without the proper caveats in the contract to require such chain of command conversations, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with the dollar. I'm not comfortable with paying somebody more to represent half the city than we pay somebody to represent the whole city. Those are my primary issues with this document. And I hear Councilman Little saying we're going to assess it, but that's not what the resolution says. The resolution says professional services agreement between the City of Anniston and Networks Media Consultants shall be for a term not to exceed 36 months, and a total fee of completion of the work required under this agreement shall not exceed $120,000. In addition to any special assignment, additional work and/or additional travel requested and authorized by the city manager. So what it states is it's a 3-year contract.
We'll keep you posted on the outcome of the next council meeting, as well as the Anniston school system and future programs.
Motion to table.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Jenkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Reddick?
Yes.
Councilmember Little?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Draper?
Yes, that motion is tabled.